A warm welcome to everyone joining this Safer Mobility Conclave by Autocar Professional. With a strong hope and prayer for everyone's well-being, I would like to start the proceedings of this very special event dedicated to furthering the cause of automotive and road safety in India. And we would, at the outset, we'd also like to thank Varroc and Continental for partnering us in this very, very special initiative. And by the way, this is not the first time that they have partnered us in such efforts. We really appreciate the partnership, and we wish everyone all the very best. Ladies and gentlemen, the Safer Mobility Conclave is the 7th edition of this annual event by Autocar Professional to, as I said earlier, to further the cause of automotive and road safety in India. A lot has been done by industry stakeholders, government, and consumers are also appreciating and becoming increasingly aware about the safety in mobility, safety on the roads, and basically practicing safety in our everyday lives. But at over 150,000 road deaths every year, there's a lot more to be done. And that is what we will discuss, deliberate, debate over the next little over 4 hours with industry leaders, both from OEMs, tier ones, including organizations which have a role in framing the regulations. So without further ado, it is my pleasure and honor to invite the keynote speaker of this very special initiative, Mr. Shailesh Chandra, who is the president of the Passenger Vehicle Business Unit at Tata Motors. Mr. Chandra, who has had a long stint at Tata Motors. In fact, he started his career in Tata Motors in the mid-90s, is now steering, along with his team, Tata Motors in a very impressive turnaround journey, and one of the key growth pillars for the organization is safety. So let's hear from Mr. Shailesh Chandra. Mr. Chandra, over to you, please.
I'm really delighted to be a part of the Safer Mobility Conclave organized by Autocar Professional, and to share my thoughts on how we accelerate movement towards safer mobility. As you know that globally, road traffic deaths are a matter of grave concern, and specifically when we talk about India, it is a bigger imperative given the socio-economic and health implication it has. And therefore, it becomes very important for us to understand the intensity of the issue that the country faces as compared to rest of the world. And also to create the sense of urgency among the stakeholders to systematically and in a coordinated manner. It is very clear that with increased mobility, road traffic fatalities are becoming a concern across the globe. And just to share some of the statistics which many of you would be aware of, 1.35 million deaths happening across the world, 50 million people getting injured in road accidents, and 1/4 of them get killed or get injured are actually pedestrians and cyclists, which are termed as the vulnerable category, and therefore has the focus of the regulators also. And it is the leading cause of death for young adults aged between 5 to 29 years. And what is also not in the data is that 90% of the deaths and the injuries severe is in developing countries, and we are one of them. If you see on the right side, it shows that in our country, the situation is really much bad as compared to rest of the world. We have the highest road fatalities in the country, constituting nearly 11% of the overall lives which are being lost globally. And 1.5 lakh life is what get lost on the Indian road. So road traffic deaths are flip side of increased mobility, and it remains an unacceptable price to pay. Now, rightfully so, the world organizations are therefore taking definitive steps to enhance road safety. UN taking the lead on this, and you would be aware of the 17 Sustainable Developmental Goals, which has been articulated to create a better world by 2030. And out of these 17, two are specifically targeted towards road safety, which is the goal 3 and goal 11, which is around reducing road injuries and death, and in the category of affordable and sustainable transportation systems. And the Stockholm Declaration in 2015 connects the road safety to these, what we call as Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development, where the target has been defined of reducing the road traffic deaths and injuries by 50% by 2030. And therefore, the efforts are being strengthened on 5 pillars towards road safety improvement. And those are around road safety management, safer roads and mobility, safer vehicles, safer road users, and post-crash response. So clearly, reducing road injuries, deaths, and promoting affordable, sustainable transport is becoming a priority across the world. Now, in India, we are also moving fast towards safer mobility. The targets are even more stringent, what has been taken in the country, and I'll talk about it later on. But through regulation, Government of India is advancing on the vehicle safety measures through different regulations. And this is what you see on the timeline chart, starting with ABS in April 2018, then the driver airbags, seat alert, seat belt reminder, reverse parking alert, and then the offset crash regulation, pedestrian protection, front passenger airbag. So I think all these have really helped in increasing the safety for the occupants. And yes, it does have an implication on the cost of the vehicle, which has increased by 1% to 6%. But I think it's worth to keep all of us safe, and we should look this as an investment towards safety of our people. And it's therefore very encouraging to see that the regulations as far as safety is concerned is moving in the right direction. Now, what about consumers? So government is definitely playing its role to at least create a hygiene level of safety. But one is also seeing over a period of time, which was a concern actually earlier, that consumers were not giving enough of preference to safety. But if you see from triangulated studies, it is coming out very clearly that there is a gaining importance, among the consumers on safety with the changing mobility paradigm. The new car bias survey clearly shows that important to feel safe is a functional attribute which is gaining importance. It has moved from 45% to 57% in the last 4 years. Also, the Sigma Milieu Next Car study shows the gaining importance of passive and active safety over a period of time. And we do our internal study also regularly. And if I compare with the past findings and what we see now, safety used to be good to have and was limited to a few category of people and customers. But you are seeing that it is more being seen now as essential and hygiene. So it's clearly a mega trend, in addition to what we know as case. And consumers are clearly increasingly appreciating safer vehicle. And as I just try to understand better, it is also coming out, that the content on the internet, which is the videos around the crash tests and all, is having a really a big impact in the minds of the consumers. And there's a greater awareness because most of the people go and search about car and their features, and therefore safety is coming out prominently in the content also. So this was one very insightful finding which came out. And therefore, given this changing paradigm, Tata Motors has adopted safety as a key attribute for the range of products that we have. Very proud to be leading this in the country with all our products being best in class as far as safety is concerned. And we have always tried to bring features, safety features, which are beyond regulation, and even before regulation would have defined it. And we value the customer safety over just mere compliance. Uh, it has been always a part of Tata Motors ethos, and it is a integral part of the development process, where at the concept definition stage itself, safety is at the center. And the whole process of development, whether it is right from the simulation to the physical crash of the vehicle, uh, it goes through a very rigorous testing and ideas around bringing technologies to enhance the safety, and series of different kind of safety impact tests that we do is what is shown in the chart. But more importantly, the load cases that we take are just not mere to meet the regulations, but rather focused more around ensuring the real world safety. And that is what is differentiating us in the market. But more importantly, we feel responsible as an OEM to participate in the goal and vision which has been set around safety as far as our nation is concerned. So it's good and very proud that we are democratizing safety for our consumers. Uh, Now, going forward, I think it's important to see that country has definitely come a long way in the last 5 6 years, I would say, on the safety through regulation. And as I have shown, that consumers are also giving a lot of importance now to safety. And some of the pioneering OEMs are also taking a lead. So there is definitely a very good movement in the country, and certain states in the country are also taking some leading steps as far as the safety is concerned, movement towards safer mobility. But if we have to really think of a framework which as a country we should really pursue and work towards to meet what has been set as India's vision, which is 50% reduction in road fatalities by 2025 and zero fatalities by 2030. I think there are two very good frameworks defined by WHO, which is around safe system approach framework, where human tolerance of crash impacts is kept as the criteria while defining the safe vehicles. We create, safe, safety for road users, the safe speed limits, safe roads and roadside. And this is a very holistic framework, which addresses all the ecosystem elements around safer mobility. And therefore, this is something which can be very helpful for the country and all the stakeholders who are part of the ecosystem to work in a very coordinated fashion. I think that will be important, that while we work as individuals, like we as OEMs, but it is also important that we coordinate with the rest of the ecosystem, which is government, which is academia, which is the traffic police, the whole response mechanism. That is going to help us in a big way. Then the second one is also the save lives, as we call, which is also kind of articulated by WHO, which is evidence-based inventory of priority interventions. And this has come out of the practices from Netherlands and Sweden. And this is around, as you can see, SLIVES as it is acronym, speed management. So identifying accident-prone areas, so therefore defining speed limits, traffic calming strategies, roundabouts, and all are involved in how you manage the speed. Leadership on road safety can be driven by creating a spearheading agency, allocating proper funds behind it, ways of monitoring and awareness creation. All are involved in how we can really drive leadership on road safety. And some of the states I've been reading a lot, like Tamil Nadu and all, are taking really the lead on these aspects. Infrastructure design and improvement, which is more around creating, say, for example, sidewalks and safer crossings, for example. A vehicle safety standard, of course, one will be the regulation, but it is important that the OEMs take a proactive step in going beyond regulation, given that we have to accelerate ourselves towards safer mobility. Enforcement of traffic laws, I think use of technology will be very essential, and the enforcement should be very strict in terms of, for example, drunken driving, over speeding, helmet. All these things should be given a top priority, and there should be very strong enforcement. Survival after crash is a very important aspect of reducing fatalities. And it is, the studies show that if there is a very fast response mechanism in terms of reduced response time, there's a 50% reduction in the fatalities, and therefore the whole system around how you respond to a crash becomes important, and this also involves the training of the people who are closer to the accident prone area, especially on the highways and all, including people at dhaba, so that there is first aid training given to them. So I think if we work with this framework in mind, as far as uh, India is concerned, where all the stakeholders join hand, I think we can definitely do a good job, in terms of accelerating our journey towards safer mobility and meet the India's vision of 50% reduction in road fatalities by 2025 and zero fatalities by 2030. So that's all what I wanted to share, and possibly set as a context for this conclave. And I really I'm looking forward to very insightful discussions and suggestions coming from different panel discussions. So wish all the best to this conclave.